Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you. And good afternoon to those of you who are visiting us from past 12 o'clock noon, especially to our friends in Thailand and our friends in China. And I heard a group in Denmark has set up. Hope you enjoyed the first half. And welcome to this session on bidding issues and trends. I'm Martin Sirk, CEO of Icca, and I'm joined on stage today by a great panel. I've got David Owen, Managing Director of Distripress, which is a global association for press and printing. Helga Severins, who's Senior Director for UITP, which is the world body, most important body in the world for public transport. And finally, last but by no means least, my fellow board member on Icca, Juan Jose Garcia, who is the Director of Marketing and Sales for Barcelo Congresos, who's one of the most experienced PCOs in the business. And hopefully we're going to share some perspectives on how bidding looks today for international association events, trends, challenges, problems, and issues. We've got all kinds of questions coming in from around the world. My live audience here, you know that you can't ask questions directly, but do feel free to send those through the channels that you've been notified about. And we're going to kick off by asking each of my panelists to address this following statement. Ethical behavior, efficiency, creativity, amazingly low prices. If you could only guarantee one of those four in a destination that's bidding for your events, or the events that you're working with in Juan Jose's concern, which one would you choose and why? David.
Well, thank you. I think it's a good question. I would first of all just leave ethics just to one side for us to come back to. And I would say, look, we're not looking for amazingly low prices as our key objective. What we're looking for is to deliver the very best Congress we can within the budget that we've got. So I wouldn't put that as the most important thing. Now, we do all want creativity, and I know you're going to say to me you can only pick one of them. That's fair enough. But I can just imagine the most creative Congress that we put on with fantastic food, but all starts to come apart at the seams because it's not running properly. The food is late, or the AV doesn't work. I was at an event in New York that had the best speakers, the best speaker list for our industry I could imagine, and yet they didn't spend enough money, or something went wrong and we couldn't hear the speakers properly, and it was a disaster. And it's such a shame. So for me, if you just take those three things of creativity, low cost and efficiency, I take efficiency every time as an organizer, because I know no one's going to come back to me and say, my goodness, that was too efficient, that Congress. No one's going to say that. But let's just come back to ethics for a second, Martin, because first of all, ethics is a tricky one because it means different things to different people. And I know that we could try and define that. What I would say is, I'd turn it on its head, that we wouldn't choose a venue because it had particular level of ethics, but what we would do is knock one out straight away if it didn't, as far as we were concerned. So, and I can't define exactly where that was. It's not that we wouldn't have conversations about incentives and commissions and so on, and I'm sure we'll come on to a lot of those things, but if I felt uncomfortable or our board felt uncomfortable about some ethical behavior, then that would rule them out almost on the spot for me.
Okay. Helga.
Martin, as I'm German, and not Belgium, I have Belgium in my passport, I'm afraid I would say efficiency.
Okay.
So efficiency in a much broader sense, what I also called cost efficiency. Efficiency with respect to the comfort of my delegates and participants, to the quality of the staff, the quality of the services. Efficiency also that I don't need too many staff members to do the job. Ethics is very important, but it's laid down in our brand values. So we have to behave following our brand values. And I know that many centers and many conventions and PCOs, we share the same brand values on ethics. Low cost is, of course, important, but sometimes not efficient.
Mm-hmm. And Juan Jose, if you take the microphone there.
I have it here.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I would say, Martin, that I am on their side. I would say efficiency for me is the key word, if I should select one of the four you mentioned. But I think that every day I see that there is a new change in all destinations, and now we are moving to a new concept of destinations that we have defined, or we're defining, like smart bidding destinations. What does it mean? From a perspective, there is a critical change in destinations. During many years, destinations has been a supplier for the association clients. And in the 21st century, any destination that wants to be successful in the bidding processes must be a partner. So this new concept of smart bidding destination is to change the way they think from supplier to a partnership with the association. That's my opinion.
One of the issues, though, with efficiency, we're all saying it's quite important, is it's quite a hard thing to sell on, because everyone says they're efficient, and it's a hard thing to disprove before the event, whereas money is money, and you can measure it and so on.
Okay, that actually is an interesting question that I didn't have on my list that follows on from that. That how do you try and make the judgment of whether the city that's bidding is going to be efficient? For example, is it something that you look for in their bid document? Is it something you have to experience by going? Or do you talk to others who've been there? I mean, how do you go about trying to work out whether that destination or that bid is going to be delivering efficiency?
Yeah, I think third-party references are very important in our industry, because the association leaders will trust each other, because we're not in competition in this way. So if I know her association has been in Dubai, for example, or somewhere else, then I would be very happy to make contact with her and say, how efficient were they? You know, I don't want to hear about particularly your welcome reception, how creative it was. I want to hear, did they deliver the food on time? Was it good food? Did they follow up on all their promises? And were they efficient in terms of gathering costs together and putting the whole package together? So that's an important thing for me, and I think that's the way we would really measure it, but also by going to sea and testing it as far as you can yourself.
No, actually, that's a very useful hint for everybody, to try and speak with the voice of other clients and not just with the supplier voice when you're actually bidding. And Icca experienced this ourselves when we held our congress, or we had the bid, which was won by Leipzig, where we held our congress in 2011, where one of the writers of sections of the bid was actually a client who had organized meetings in the city before. So immediately we felt, well, here is somebody who we can talk to about what was the reality like. Do you find that, Juan Jose, you deal with lots of different associations and destinations. Do you find that many people do that, or is that not very often the case?
Well, I would say that in my position, I can say that, Martin, that before we decide to go for a bid, the first thing we do is to look at to go to the Icca database and to look where the conference has taken place before. Not because the typical that you say, oh, has this been in my city or not? Just to see who has organized the conference, who was, and try to get the most information from there before making the decision about to go for one bid or not. Because maybe it was not successful and you get another feedback. So we always ensure that not only looking at the last edition, we go to the last 4 editions and we check point by point, including logistics, how it worked in that case.
Okay, so the logistics seems to be something that's very critical at the shortlisting stage.
Yes.
In other words, if you haven't got the logistics right and proven the efficiency type, then you're off the shortlist.
Yes.
And then hopefully by the time you're on the shortlist, you've got 3 or 2 or 4 destinations, however your rules work, that each could in theory run a good congress. So then it becomes a different matter.
Martin, never forget that associations, as efficient they are, and they do a fantastic job in many cases, live in boxes. We are not
silos.
silos.
Yeah.
Sometimes we are not in the real world. We are association. We have not to fight like a supplier. We have to fight, of course. You are an association leader, and you know what it means to be an association. And efficiency is also that the association is efficient. Professional and efficient. We are not asking you to be professional, and we are not professional because we are little dreamers or grey hair gentlemen or ladies having a big mission. No, we have to be improve much more our efficiencies as associations.